everyone. Episode 26 of Lesbian Talk. Almost a bit like 26 lesbians. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, because everyone on iTunes now will be like, oh, 26, it sounds like 26. I'm going to download that podcast.
They all downloaded the one about Vikings, episode 5.
That's true, that was kind of funny. No, they viewed it.
Yeah, it was like, ooh, episode 5 of Lesbian Talk, Texas Chainsaw Vikings. This must have something to do with the Vikings show.
Episode 5.
Bizarre amounts of people paying attention.
Yeah, it was like, wow, we must have been really, really funny that episode. We had that many hits, but no, it was just people were looking for the show, Vikings.
Oh, yeah. 5. You'd think that more people would be drawn to the show just because of its name. You know, like, ooh, lesbians doing a podcast. This must be sexy, and then maybe they do, and they just all go away again afterwards.
I play with it though. I do too. Like when we were up in Canada, that's why I called it Butch the Beaver and Friends. I was hoping somebody would think it was a porn.
I'm sure someone did. But anyway,
like, who are these people talking about Doctor Who? Jesus.
Let's stop talking about all the people that we have gained and lost. Instead, just talk about the word from last week, which was what? Yes, it was gained. No, it was lost.
Lost. I lost.
I never watched the show. I stated that last week, and I still haven't.
I still haven't seen a damn episode of the show, and it's too bad because the year that it started, I always worked Wednesday nights and at the bookstore, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, have you seen Lost? This show is right up your alley. You totally love this." And I was like, "Well, you know, I work, but I didn't have a DVR, so I figured, you know what, this summer I'll catch up. I'll buy the season 1 box set. I'll catch up, and I'll watch the second season." And then I never really got around to that, and next year I thought, well, I'll just watch season 1 and 2, and then, you know, I'll catch up. And then all of a sudden they were, you know, airing the final episode, and I was like, well, it's hardly worth it now.
Especially considering apparently how terrible it was.
No, apparently it was really good. Like, Tara is, still, obsessed with it.
From what I understand, it was, at the start, everyone thought it was good, but by the end, everyone thought it was terrible.
Well, I mean, I guess everyone had their own pet theory for where exactly everyone was, and I think the first one was that they're dead, or they're in some kind of purgatory, or some kind of illusionary dream state where they get to work out their issues, which I think, according to the last episode, is exactly what happened. And I think people who wanted something more were annoyed. I don't know.
I just know that Terry O'Quinn was in it, and he's rarely any good unless in that episode Star Trek Next Generation or in Millennium. And J.J. Abrams was behind Lost. And
yeah.
Damon Lindelof was behind Lost.
And what's his face was in it? The guy that played the guy. No, the guy that played the guy in the wheelchair in Oz, the narrator, who got killed halfway through the season, but whatever.
James Franco?
No, not James Franco. Not Oz the Great and Terrible. Oz, like the show on HBO about the prison.
I was looking for the Munchkins in that show. I got confused.
No, it was and I have a book about Oz in one of these boxes somewhere, but anyone knows, right? The show.
Currently the Omega's international studio is covered in boxes because she's moving
in about a little over a week, actually.
Yeah, but Damon Lindelof also did Lost, and he ruined any possibility of Prometheus being any good. I read the original screenplay to Prometheus. It was called Alien Engineers, and it wasn't brilliant, but it was easily, you know, Alien 3 director's cut level of quality, which was fine. But yeah, J.J. Abrams and the thing. Fuck no, I'm not watching Lost. Anyway,
dun, dun, dun.
Let's move on to something much better. Something that was lost, but then was refound. The Miami Connection.
I like how you're like, I don't like this word, so instead of spending 5 or 15 or 10 minutes on it, we'll just get really quick because I want to talk about Lost.
Yeah, Miami Connection is much better. This is one of the movies that I brought over because whenever the first trailers for it hit, I was like, oh my god, this looks brilliant, and then I ordered a copy, and it arrived, and I was over here last time, so I brought it, and I watched it when I was away, and I decided, the second I watched it, forsooth, truly I must bring this to Omega.
Pretty much the way that this works is, I, don't, if I was left to my druthers, when Hagen isn't here, I'll come home, and if I'm not working on an episode or something like that, I'll watch Mythbusters on Netflix, or maybe see if I can find some history documentaries, or if it's Monday, I'm watching RDA and stuff. But I really don't like watch things ever. But then when Hagen comes to visit, it's every 5 seconds. Oh, have you seen this thing on YouTube? Yes, you showed it to me like a month ago. Yeah, but let's watch it again. Okay. Have I shown you the show that I saw when I was 17? No, you haven't, but I know about it. I read the book. Let's watch it. Okay.
Well, it's either that or it's. Have you seen this movie that I gotta take notes for a crossover with Count Dracula? It's terrible. It's gonna be like maybe 2 hours long, and you're gonna really hate yourself if you watch it. Have you seen it? No, let's watch it.
Well, I didn't hate the movie so much as I hated the movie's soundtrack.
It was awful. It was like getting hit in the head with a spade over and over again. That was
No, it was like being hit in the head by a Casio keyboard, is what it was like.
Liquid Sky. At some point, I'm gonna do a crossover with Dracula about that.
Are you supposed to talk about that?
I don't care.
No.
But the Miami Connection.
Dun dun dun. It was funny.
It was very funny. If you don't know, it was basically like a mid-80s action ninja martial arts.
It was
type
so
film.
mid-80s.
But it's like that. But imagine if one of those had been done like by Tommy Wiseau or something. And it was released, and it had a very, very, very short release in the 80s, and then it was forgotten. Much like The Room had an initial release as a drama, and then it was rediscovered a couple of years later, and people thought it was hilarious. And so then Tommy Wiseau decided it wasn't actually a comedy. Smart guy. This one sat on a shelf somewhere for 25 years until someone who was easily amused found a copy, watched it, put in, remastered DVD, stuck it out there, and voila.
It's really funny because it's so we figured this out. It's so ahead of its time. This movie is. It anticipated a lot of the facets of modern life that no one else did in the 80s. Like, it gives you ample time during the movie to stop and to check your email, to watch a video on YouTube, to tweet at people, or to read Facebook. So yeah, there's ample opportunity during that movie.
And the story to the Miami Connection is one of these classic tales. It's wonderful. It's your usual story of a bunch of orphans who all know Taekwondo, who form in 1980s.
No, the one's not an orphan.
No, he discovers he's not an orphan. But they got a band, and they get involved with evil ninjas who hate them because one of them's dating the sister of one of the evil ninjas' friends, and it's called the Miami Connection, but it's primarily set in Orlando. There's like at least two.
This is not the Jacksonville Connection, and then there would be like Walmart and animal rape.
Yeah. And there's at least two bits where you've just got the band doing one of their two great songs. You got Friends Forever and Against the Ninja.
And they do it like 15,000 times, and then there are these just incredibly long fight scenes.
But Against the Ninja is quite noteworthy because this is one of their songs. It's all about how they are Taekwondo masters and how they believe in peace and how they have to fight ninjas. While this is sung before ninjas actually enter the story from their point of view.
Well, maybe the ninjas came after them because they heard their song and they were like, well, if that's the case.
Well, yeah, from the ninjas' point of view, that makes sense. However, from the band's point of view, do they just have a problem with ninjas?
Well, here's the thing: the Taekwondo is Korean, is it not?
I think so.
So, all right. Well, I don't know this for sure, but Korea and Japan pretty far away from each other. So
there's a bit of animosity between Korea and Japan.
Well, now there is, but was there back in the day when you think of who is the natural enemy of the ninja? Well, obviously it's the samurai, but were there Korean Taekwondo exchange students? Did they help the samurai? I need to know more information.
That I don't know, but I do know that today there's a little bit of sort of animosity, but mainly because of World War II.
Right, but that was not when ninjutsu and Taekwondo were evolving.
That's true.
It's like saying that the natural enemy of the jellyfish is the guinea pig. I mean,
yeah, obviously. You ever seen those guys fight? It's too amazing to
guinea
actually
pigs
film.
are horrible. When in Bizarre Foods, when Andrew Zimmern eats a guinea pig, I was so happy.
We were supposed to talk about Bizarre Foods at some point. Oh no, this may have to be next week if we remember.
Well, we can do it in a bit. We're only 10 minutes in.
No, I think that's deserving the best part of an episode itself.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do know that the guy who was considered the single greatest, karate expert of all time, he was actually Korean.
Oh, that's cool.
I think his family were ethnically Japanese. They moved over there, but he was born and raised in Korea, and he then went back to Japan in like the 60s, and I can't remember his name, but he was severely badass. He's the guy who managed to kill several bulls in single combat with his bare hands.
Who gets into single combat with bulls besides
A
Spaniards?
guy who wants to show off how hard he is at karate.
Well, what do they do with the bulls? I mean, can you eat, like, you can eat bulls, right? You don't just eat cows.
You can, yeah, it's beef.
Yeah, but I know, but like, I thought there was like maybe a thing, like they're more valuable as bulls to stud than you should eat them.
Maybe, but I do recall he killed the bulls by punching them in the head. He also did these sort of contests where he would take on other karate people, mostly as students, and it was like winner stays on fighting, and it lasted for some ridiculous amount of time. As people, he actually blacked around all the people who were possibly going to fight him, and then he had to go on to start again. He's, I.
But how was he at Nintendo?
That I don't know, but he is like quite high up there in the list of martial badasses in a fight. I love to see a fight between him, the guy who can't be defeated, Masoyama. That's it. You see, him versus Bruce Lee would be fascinating, but also imagine him as the guy who can't be defeated versus, say, Rasputin, the guy who can't be killed.
But Rasputin was killed.
Yeah, but not on bare hands.
I'm sure you could have killed him with bare hands, but all the Russian aristocrats were too pussy to do it. Like, oh no, Vladimir, we can't kill Rasputin. We might get in trouble. Let's poison. Like, I mean,
poison him and then shoot him.
If they just got someone's cousin Yuri, who's like as big as a bear, to just hold him down and punch him and punch him and punch him until his skull kind of caved in, I think you'd find that he could be defeated in one-on-one.
Theoretically could be, but Rasputin, like Blackbeard, has the powers of being a crazy guy who's really big and has a Blackbeard, which gives them, superpowered defense levels.
Or the fact that he had, drank so much alcohol through the course of his life that because he was, drank an incredible amount, it may have altered his blood chemistry a bit and made him more immune to the poison that they gave him.
It's possible. Well, I just like to think that Rasputin, whenever someone was genning up that character, they rolled, a maximum on D20 whenever generating his defense stats.
Such a nerd. Obviously, just like in Clan of Malkavian, he was a vampire.
Yeah, and he was, he was poisoned. He was shot. He was,
But again,
he had like chains hidden to him. He was then
here's
rolled
the
into
thing,
a carpet, dropped into a freezing river, and then he didn't freeze to death. He drowned.
But here's the thing, though. Again, we only have the word of these frightened. Oh, if that's not a herd of bees, my neighbors are vacuuming. We only have the word of these Nancy little Russian aristocrats. Like, why didn't you just kill him? Well, we did. We poisoned him, and that didn't work. So we shot him, and that didn't work. And then we threw him in the river, and we beat him with chains, and that didn't work because we're hardcore. Everyone's like, oh, there, dear. Not the fact that they were too pussy to kill, some peasant schmuck. So, they made up this whole story about how hardcore he was to make themselves look good.
I think,
take with a grain of salt.
Oh, definitely. It's entirely possible that he was harder. Although I think that if they're gonna come up with reasons for why Rasputin was so hardcore, but that's more likely than possibly that, is they wanted to create, to feed into the myth that was already around Rasputin that he was unholy.
He was a Satanist. Well, they wanted people.
No, he wasn't.
No, they wanted people. They spread like all these rumors that he's a Satanist and all this other stuff, and
which is complete bullshit. He was if I remember the word, he's a Skolopny, which was a type of just a sect of Russian Orthodox Christianity.
Well, it could have stood to bathe, apparently, according to pictures.
Oh yeah. If I remember correctly, please forgive me if I'm wrong about this. Rasputin.
He was a huckster. Like he was just really. I watched this whole documentary, on Netflix. That basically, he was a natural born con man. He had a lot of charisma, and he was basically like, oh yeah, I can heal your son. So let me totally go right on. He was very magnetic, and he was a huckster. He played people.
He also apparently was quite good at. Don't want to say hypnosis, but he could calm people by looking at them, which is not a magical thing. It's just something people can do. But if I remember correctly, the religious group he was in, one of their views were that in order to be absolved of sin first who had to sin, and that was his excuse to have sex with as many people as he could. But is
best Russian Orthodox come online ever.
Yeah, it's the fast. That if
we gotta sin if we gonna be saved, baby. Except not in
it's brilliant.
Chris Isaac's voice.
It's the best way to get around the rules of Christianity, really, isn't it?
Well, the Russian Orthodox, I mean, I don't know. They're kind of up to no good over there now. So.
Oh, frankly, the Russian Orthodox have been often up to no good.
Yeah, but now especially, now even more so that we have iPhones, we can see what they're up to.
Yeah. But Miami, really big tangent.
But yeah, Miami Connection, which has nothing to do with Rasputin or the Russian
Rasputin was in Miami.
He'd be really hot. You'd have to shave.
I think he'd keep the hair and beard, but he'd just have Bermuda shorts on.
Ew. He'd look like Alan Moore.
He would.
Alan Moore, if you're listening, write the show.
Alan Moore, whenever he had to get a passport, he deliberately wrote in his passport form that his occupation was magician.
That's kind of cool. Yeah, I did really like V for Vendetta, so if you're listening, write the show. We'll talk.
Did you like the movie or the book?
Actually, I saw the movie and I really liked it, so that made me get the book because we had it at the store. And I liked the book too.
The book was better.
The book was better from a story point of view, but I had to imagine all of these lines as being spoken by Hugo Weaving. So.
It's interesting that he was a last-minute replacement for the actor.
I know, I heard about that. And here's the thing. Here's how you know he's a good actor. The fact that, and I realized this nearly at the end of the movie, we did not see his face a single time in the entirety of the movie. But yet, we were emoting for the character. We were empathizing with the character by voice alone. That's powerful.
And gestures.
Yeah, but I thought he wasn't doing the gestures. I thought they dubbed him over and someone else in the body.
Well, originally it was this other actor who I've forgotten the name of, but he played Mark Anthony in Rome. He cast as V, and he was doing the voice and the body acting. He did about 75% of the acting before he was fired. Hugo Weaving did the last 25% of the body acting and the voice.
Oh, okay. I thought that he just did the voice, but even still, just that's. And I thought to myself, that's the mark of a good actor.
And the thing you can't even tell who is Hugo Weaving and who's the other guy.
Yeah, I mean I didn't, but honestly. But anyway, Miami Connection.
Miami.
And it was so bad. It was like the dialogue was so bad. Like people were talking over each other, and not in like the way that like obviously there was direction. Everyone talk at once, It was like what? There's a point. He's like, "It's my dad." And he pulls out a picture of his father that he got sent in a letter from God only knows who, because apparently his mother's dead. And like people were like, "Oh wow, your dad?" And someone goes, "Are you sure?" I'm like, what?
My dad was Black American and my mom was Korean.
He said my mom was from my dad was Black American. And I was like, I guess the term African American was not popular yet in the 80s of Miami Connection.
Or possibly the guy who wrote the film his first language wasn't English, which is the case.
Or was just so white that they were like Black American. That's the phrase now.
Oh no, the scriptwriter was the Korean guy in the movie.
Oh no, I didn't know that scene.
Yeah, it was his baby.
Oh, well, that makes a fuck ton of sense.
I think most of the cast were sort of his students. But the guy who was saying that my dad was Black American. This guy is let me see. This guy, if the term openly black existed, like this openly gay, if openly black existed, there would be James Brown and there would be this guy.
Well, they were all just kind of big old pussies. Like, there was the one guy who, like, they were talking about, oh, we should go to, like, the land of our origins and stuff like that. And, this one guy was like, we go to Ireland because I'm Irish. And I looked over at Hagen to see if she's making the face. And there was one guy who was like, I'm Jewish. We can go to Israel. And we can study at a Taekwondo temple there. I'm like, all the Krav Maga kids are going to beat the shit out of you, son.
Oh, yeah. And then they were like, and the black guy's like, well, I'm just American. How come we can't go to my home?
I want to be like, are you gonna go to Africa?
No.
Well, no, because that's what I was expecting the Jewish kid to say. We can go to Africa.
Oh, you thought he'd say that?
Yeah.
Just to be, sort of incorrect.
Yeah.
It would have been horrible, but it's like this guy. He's the only one that they don't talk to in that scene, because you assume he's just African American. So like, oh, poor guy, he can't go to his home because you're already there. And then you find out he's half Korean, but then of course the lead is Korean in a way. So it's like,
He doesn't look half. I mean, okay, no.
They don't get to go to his fat hometown because they're going there already. It's very unfair, you know.
Well, it never. Oh yeah, they did say that he was born in Korea. But like, I mean, I feel like here's one of those things where you don't cast your friends. Like you should do some casting. Like I don't know if a lot of people know this because apparently this came up on Twitter like many months ago. But in Maryland, there's a lot of mixed marriages. It's very very common here. And my one of my coworkers, she is white, and her husband is black, and her children are mixed, and they're really cute little kids too. But you know, like one of the kids at daycare told the older one, "Well, I'm black, but you're white because your mama's white." And then he was like, "Mama, am I black or white?" And she goes, "Well, you're mixed." And apparently, when her husband found out about that, she heard him telling him on the TV, "No. If someone asks you, say you're black like your daddy." But like you to look at her sons, they're fair skinned. You can tell that they're mixed. But this actor did not look like he was half Korean.
Yeah,
at all.
Not at all.
And
on any level.
I mean, if you put a casting call out
this guy looked as Korean as we do.
Exactly, and if you put a casting call out for an actor who is, half Asian and half African American, I'm sure there will be a few hundred actors at least sending you the resume.
This was not necessary. They could have been like, my mom was like from, I don't know, his dad was black American. His mother could have been, I don't know, some like. I'm sure there must have been some sort of because this was based on the Korean War. You could have had another war somewhere.
She could have been
Africa.
a nurse. She could have been an army nurse.
Yeah, there you go.
She could have been a black army nurse. So he was, a black soldier, and she was a black army nurse. And they met in Korea. Boom, there you go.
Or they could have had the same backstory, but said, the guy was stationed in Africa for some reason because the guy is really, really black. He's
Well, I mean, honey, people in Africa have the same spectrum of blackness as anybody else.
Oh, I know. And what I'm saying is that you couldn't have said that his dad was stationed in Germany or something. Though you do get black Germans, but
it's just they could have got around this uncomfortable racial discussion by casting the right kind of actor.
Well, or they could have just altered the backstory a tiny bit to make it make sense.
But and that was like. So he has this like whole thing like, oh, I'm gonna find my daddy and things and stuff, and then like at the end, like
I got a daddy.
He gets.
Oh my god!
He screams like a girl. Oh my god! I found my daddy. Well, no, he said I found my father. But so at the end, he gets like run through with the katana, and they're rushing him to the hospital, and like right as they get to the hospital, they're like, oh, luckily we just found his dad, and he just got here to Florida. And then they like wheel him out, suspiciously conscious and all right after having been run through with a katana. And he's like, Dad, he's like, oh, I want to be a part of your life, son. I'm so sorry that I left you and things and stuff. And I was like, is it time for a mandatory fight or musical sequence so I can check Twitter again? Or play Balls Explode on my phone?
Which you do all the time in a way.
I'm addicted to it.
She loves blowing up balls.
That's what she said.
Anyway, Miami Connection is hilarious. If Lupa doesn't get to it eventually as a review, I probably will.
I was going to tweet at her, but then I feel bad because I know that anytime anyone in the world ever sees a movie that took place anywhere from 1981 to the end of 1990, they immediately tweet at Lupa.
That's true.
And be like, Lupa, I saw a movie, and it was from the 90s, and it was bad. You gotta review it. And she'll be like, oh, we'll see. But you gotta review it. So I was like, I'll leave Lupa be for now.
Well, I remember when I watched it for the first time, I tweeted at her, basically, telling her she should review the Miami Connection, and she didn't get back to me. But then again, that's possibly better than every other time I've suggested movies to her, which is all, because her reaction has always been, no!
Oh dear God!
I'm not reviewing the Polar Bear King or the 13th Sign. Many, many movies, and I cried.
Well, good, because if you already told her about them, it's a good thing I didn't tweet her. She'd be like, your wife already told me, thank you.
Great reviews for Lupa, but Lupa doesn't want to. She has her own way of working stuff out, and apparently the number one criteria for a Lupa review is Hagen did not suggest it.
Well, because the stuff that you suggest to people is kind of usually horrible. I mean, don't take it the wrong way, but kind of usually it is.
That's because most of the movies I watch are kind of horrible.
True. Very true.
No?
Well, you guys did do the God of Vampires crossover, and that movie wasn't so bad.
I was like, this movie is like the trailer of my fan. It's like smooth things to be reviewed by you. crossover. And she was like, that looks amusing. Yes, let's do a crossover.
I like how you're doing that voice that is nothing near like how your voice actually sounds.
And then she was like, oh, that sounds fascinating, and I will review it with you. And I bought it. I was like, really very bad and boring. There you go. Okay. She's like, indeed, it was very bad and boring. I feel like, I have to write the script, and it's ages and ages, and it's very boring. And then we filmed it at MagFest.
I don't recall either you or Allison ever sounding like that in real life. So I am doubtful. You know, I got yelled at by somebody like years ago, like when I was first part of the reviewer community. Actually, I think this was like right after like my first MagFest. And I was in, I think it was like in one of Mike's streams, and I was in the chat room, and someone was like, I saw Looper's review and I think things and stuff, and I really I lost my train of thought. Oh, like this was back when she was streaming a lot, like really early in the morning, and so I was still awake at that time, and so I got a few of her streams, and I said, oh yeah, Obscure Looper, she seems like a nice enough kid. And then this person, I don't know if it was a boy or girl, flipped their shit on me. They're like, you can't call Obscurus Lupa a kid! She antiquity! And I was like, but the way that I hear tell it, I've got an easy decade on her. I can call her a kid. If I could have conceivably babysat for someone, then they qualify as a kid. I'm not saying that makes her somehow lesser, it just makes her younger than me.
From being an old timer.
Well, it's weird because it's like, I think a lot of the people who are fans of specific producers, like, you know, like Rap Critic, he's pretty young. He's like, what, like 20?
Yeah, he's younger than Lupa and younger than Film Brand.
Yeah. And so I'm old. I'm 33. And so, you know, people are like, show some respect to the producers. And I'm like, I am, but I can't change the fact that they're physically younger than me. I'm not the doctor. I can't play with time.
Well, maybe they just find the idea of, you know, pointing out the age difference as offensive. I don't.
Why is it offensive? It's the truth.
I don't know. Some people just find it like that.
How dare you say that I was born 6 months before you? I don't know who that was. Lord Tebbit.
Lord Tebbit's a cunt.
Lord Tebbit the cunt.
How far are we in now? Should we have a break?
No. We have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay, then let's very quickly get to this mini Let's Try then.
Oh yeah, we have, well, it's not really a Let's Try for me. It's more like snack time for me. But yeah. Tell the good people what you have.
Okay, we stopped at the charcoal pit in Delaware, which is apparently the place where they invented the quarter pounder. And we were all getting food, and the woman was all like, oh, you gotta eat very quickly, and we got a nice sundae though. But,
well, she brought the sundae out too quick. Like, we hadn't really finished eating our food. And she's like, here's your sundae, and it's already melting. And I was like, we had to, like, wolf it down. But also, their jukebox was biased against me. Yeah,
there was a problem. But they had some other types of chocolate and things, chocolate bars, and I bought a couple because I'd never had them before. So I'm going to try and insult Nestle Crunch. We have a Crunch in
Nestle,
the UK.
Not Nestle.
We call it Nestle in the UK. Crunch. We have something it's either called a Crunch or it looks very similar design-wise in the UK, and it's very. I can already tell it's very different. And Nestle Butterfinger.
Better not lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
Is that a joke?
No, that's the catchphrase.
Is it a reference?
No, that's the advertising catchphrase. Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger. For a while in the late 80s, early 90s, our spokesperson was Bart Simpson. So what do you think of Nestle Crunch? Are you gonna whine about American chocolate again? You're making a face.
It's a chocolate bar crossed with a Rice Krispie cake, but Rice Krispie bar type thing.
It's got little beanies inside, little rice bits.
But it's got this terrible American chocolate.
Would you stop it? You're so always prejudiced against American chocolate. Stop discriminating. Stop hating. Hater. Hater's gonna hate.
So yeah. I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever had. That's still probably the peanut butter taffy. Taffy doesn't actually have a word in the UK. We don't actually have a word for what that is.
Oh, well, we do because we're awesome. And we love liberty.
Now we have Nestle Butterfinger.
Butterfingers are good. They're one of my favorites.
Crispity, Crunchy, Peanut Buttery.
Yeah.
Crispity and Crunchy are not words.
Listen! Market copy makes good market copy.
Now, I hate peanut butter.
Because there's something wrong with you.
However, I like peanut butter M&Ms, so I will see how this comes out.
Well, you've not vomited yet. That's probably something.
This is much crunchier than I expected. I expected like chocolate with the peanut
Listen, crispity, crunchity. What part of that were you unclear about?
butter. The part that was supposed to be a word.
You can also get them in little teeny ball form too. Or at least you could back in the day. I don't know.
This would be much more entertaining if these were as terrible as I feared. They're not quite as terrible.
Yay! I don't know why I'm cheering exactly. Go, American Candy, go.
Okay, that was not Nanowar. That was This Night of All Nights by Ghost Hand Punch, unless I got the name of the song wrong. Whichever, that's the theme music for our cooking show. You probably shouldn't cook this.
But we did anyway. Amen.
Yes, we did. There's one, at the time of recording, there's one episode on Blip, there's another episode waiting to go on Blip, and there's a third episode filmed, and there's a fourth episode scripted, and there's a fifth episode planned.
So take that.
Likely happening again at some point.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yep. Just say that out of all the episodes, episode 4 is likely going to be worse for us than Fruit Fajitas.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty bad, actually. I'm really not. I'm thinking it'll be an epic episode, but I'm thinking it might not be the funnest in the world for us.
We'll survive.
Yeah, you're right.
Anyway, so yeah, you can go watch. You probably shouldn't cook this on Blip or go to Project Million Entertainment and check it out there.
Yep.
Now, what are we doing now? We got a factoid or something?
I suppose so. Giovanni, are you around?
Yeah, boss. But since most of my trivia facts have to do with mammals, I thought, I'll be a little bit self-indulgent this time. So this fact is going to be about the best little species on the planet Earth. That's right, us lobsters. But did you know that we're potentially immortal? It's true. Scientists have discovered recently that we have the potential to live forever. We don't age, we don't stop growing, we just get bigger and we molt. We don't lose appetites, no sex drive, energy, or even experiences any changes in metabolism as we grow older. That kind of makes us the perfect species. Just saying.
Yeah, it makes you really, really giant when you're older and older and older, and if eventually we get to like millions of years in the future and there's a lobster that is millions of years old with the size of the planet and it'll become a new planet, and that's how planets are born.
Yeah, I'm right. Show everyone.
It's like crustacean Mormonism. Because
No, it's not like that.
but in Mormonism, God
No,
populates a planet.
that's stupid. No.
Okay,
There never was an angel lobster come down from heaven.
with golden plates. How could he carry them in his claws?
But he carry them pretty well in his claws.
Okay.
It's just a stupid idea. So anyway, my adoring public, we will see you all next week.
How will you see them?
Stop antagonizing him. Lobster Mormonism. What's wrong with you?
Well, if you think in Mormonism, the creation story is that God was actually a human being, and that God created the earth, and He has spirit children which are all the souls that inhabit the earth. That one being creates a planet, and then those beings, if they become properly Mormonized, they can become gods of another planet. It's very similar to the lobster giant planet theory of planet creation.
If we had, like, the one Mormon fan, I don't think we'd do anymore.
Well, I'm not getting their I'm going from memory here, but I'm pretty sure I'm not getting the beliefs insultingly wrong. It's a bit like saying Christianity has some shit about a snake and an apple, although the Bible doesn't say it's an apple. It could be a fig or something.
I thought it was an apple.
No, in the Bible, it doesn't. The original versions, it doesn't say that. It just says
I guess that would make sense because they don't have apples in the Holy Land, do they? They don't grow there.
not particularly now.
They grow in Europe.
Yeah.
So they must have been it. So it was maybe a pomegranate?
Yeah, or a fig or something.
Actually, a fig would make a lot of sense.
But yeah, I don't think I'd be insulting to Mormon beliefs.
I hate fig Newtons. It has nothing to do with Mormons. I'm just letting y'all know.
Is Fig Newton a Mormon? Is that what you talked about him?
No, I don't like fig Newtons because like you would get it when you're little. Like, can we get cookies? And you might be like, okay. And then come in from the supermarket, fig Newtons? You gotta be fucking kidding me. Because I don't like those little grainy bits of sand or stones or whatever is in a fig, and I'm like, I'm trying to like spit them out, and they get on like you're crunching your teeth, and it feels like you're chewing on sand, and we could have had Oreos, but no.
My parents, when I was younger, they would get fig rolls, which I'm guessing are the British equivalent.
And this'll make you laugh. The commercial for Fig Newtons was Fig Newtons. It's not a cookie. It's fruit and cake. And it was like all British people, like a little British child in like a boarding house in like 1911 or something like that. Like, Mummy, can we have cookies? And then like the maid or the nanny would be like, oh no, you don't want cookies. You want Fig Newtons. They're fruit and cake.
Do you know anything about figs connecting with wasps?
Yes, I do, and we're not going to talk about it.
Okay, I was just making sure.
We're not going to talk about it.
Because I know that you don't like wasps and you don't like figs, so I'm like, wow, these two dislikes are perfectly aligned.
No, it is, because when I found out about that, I was like, I knew cosmically there must have been a reason. Like, I had to use the bathroom today around 2:30, but at work, in the hallway where the bathrooms are, a wasp was, like, near the ceiling, and so I just held it till I got home.
Everyone has a phobia of some sort, of some degree. Whether
it's not a phobia, it's a very serious survival instinct.
A phobia is.
Because if it was a fear of something that was harmless, it would be silly.
Phobia doesn't mean that it's harmless.
No, but what I'm saying is it has, like, a friend of mine had this theory that, a lot of phobias, like arachnophobia and, like, fear of, like, sharks or predators or things like that, were old, like, holdover survival instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't, like, that's why someone who's arachnophobic finds a spider intensely, just inherently, instinctively hideous and frightening and horrible and abhorrent.
It's also possible that, when they were a baby, the spider got them and it sort of that fear is indulged in their psychology.
That's true, so mine, it makes it a little bit, more okay than you.
I'm not complaining about it.
Yes, you are. You're making
sense. Well, I'm saying that everyone has some sort of fear, like whether they can control it or not. And mine is much more ridiculous than yours, but I'm not talking about it.
I think you've talked about it before at the show.
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then I don't need to talk about it again. One time at the store!
Okay. So, now it's time for a part of the show called One Time at the Store. So if you're just joining us, if this is the first episode you've ever heard, for about 9.5 years, I've worked at a large chain bookstore, and it's been an amazing experience. I've seen the best, I've seen the worst, I've seen the crazy, and I've seen the odd, and this is definitely one of them. And, so, you know how sometimes you'll be, like, on the bus, on the city bus, and you sit down next to somebody, and they're like, where are you going? You're like, oh, I'm going to the city to do things and stuff, like, that's neat. And then they go back to their life, and you go back to your life, and everything's fine. But then sometimes you sit down next to a person, they say, where are you going? You say, oh, I'm going to the city. And they say, that's good. Did you know lizard people control the city? You're like, I did not have that information. No. And you know that you just can't say anything to these kind of people because they won't believe you and they'll just keep talking. So, I find it fascinating. I think we talked about it before on the show about people who believe in these outlandish conspiracy theories. Like, I want to have someone on the show who really does think these things, except I'm afraid that they'll actually get really offended and, come find us. But so, it was a Saturday morning, and it was pretty slow at info. And, a guy walks up to me, and he's wearing a big, huge guy, and he's wearing a hat, low over his face, and I can see that one of his eyes is pointing in a different direction, and his face is sagging on the one side, so it looked like he'd had a stroke. And he said, oh, I want to order this one book. I don't think you're having it. And I looked up the book, and it was some New Age title. And I said, no, I mean, I can order it for you. It's going to be a few days. He's like, that's fine. I was like, all right, so let me get your information. I'll order that for you. And he goes, well, I'm not ordering it because I want to read it. And I said, okay. And he says, I'm ordering it because I'm writing a book with the same title. And I want to have a look at this and make sure it's different enough from mine that I won't get sued. And I was going to tell him, that you can have different books with the same title. In fact, that happens a lot. But then he started telling me, he's like, yeah, well, this is a really important book, you see, because I used to be a trucker and I fell asleep at the wheel, right? So I figured that's how he got, his facial injuries. And he said, so then I was doing some research and I was doing all this thinking, and you know how Mitt Romney and everybody, and I was like, oh, here we go, he's a conservative, and God only even knows where this is going. But you know how they're always making noise about evolution? Well, they don't need to be worried about evolution because it's not about evolution. And I said, okay. He goes, it's about devolution. And I was like, okay, sir. So then he goes on to tell me how that that Yahweh, the Jewish God, has been started in like the time of the Bible, selectively breeding the Jewish people so that they are the most evolved people of all of the people on the earth. And then how, like, people are only socialized because when they're born, women implant social programming into them. And he goes, if it wasn't for women implanting society into the mind of every child, we would be like animals. We would be running around like wild savages, biting each other. And he just went on and on and on.
So this guy's against gay adoption by two men?
I don't even know. He never said anything like that. He was just like, and the thing is that, like, occasionally he would cite something rational, like some rational bit of, like, known sociological theory, and then just go way, way off the rails. And again, there was no one, coming to customer service or anything, so I just stood there and I was like, oh, he's everything the internet promised me and more. This is so glorious. And he just went on and on and on until finally my manager came over. She's like, oh yeah, I need you to go cover a break in music. And he was like, well, I won't, keep you here, the whole time, but I'll come in when the book's ready. Thank you so much. And he went away. And I never saw him again.
The people, I know the idea that, two different things have the same title. I'm just thinking, The Passion of the Christ and the porn parody. What would you call it? The Passion of the Christ.
You could do that. I mean...
It was very nice of Mel Gibson to give us a film title that the pornographers did not have to alter in any way.
Well, I mean, also I think the Passion of the Christ is it's a phrase. It's a known phrase that means something.
Yeah.
So I don't think he could trademark that anyway.
The medieval term, the Passion.
Yeah.
It was originally called the Passion after the Passion plays, because Passion had different meanings. But yeah, you didn't need to change the name for a porn version either. It's great. Anyway, what are we talking about now? We have something to talk about.
We have the most important thing to talk about, and that is the identity of a very certain person who is a man with two hearts who lives in a box.
Yes, we were supposed to talk about this last time.
We forgot.
Well, it was a mixture of we forgot plus we found that we were reading from Spoken
Oh yeah,
Cat.
we were reading the Crazy Cat Lady book.
Yeah, so
I just have this fascination about people with brains who are different from mine.
Given that your spectrum,
no,
not
but
everyone,
like really, really different people, like people who are hoarders,
are you just being,
and people who have people who have conspiracy.
Nice about crazy people?
No, I'm just saying that, like, I want to know, like, if someone, like, well, I watch the hoarding shows, I'm like, I'll go through my stuff like once a year, and if, like, especially clothes, I'm like, did I wear this last winter? No, I didn't miss it. All right, it's gone. Like, and I'll throw things away, and I'll watch it like, oh, why can't you throw it away? It fascinates me. And it's the conspiracy people. I'm like, why do you think Obama controls the weather? How did you come to this conclusion and believe it for true, for real? Tell me. I want to know.
Because the pattern recognition software in the brain blew up.
I get it. It fascinates me. But anyway, the doctor.
The doctor. So, a lot of the British actor names that aren't very famous, Omega will not be very familiar with because, well, she's got that well-known handicap of being American.
Whoa!
So, well, I'm going to give names about, who we think should be the 12th Doctor, and if, of course, the 12th Doctor is announced before this episode goes up, then egg on our face.
I don't think it will be, though. I think they're going to keep wraps on this one.
It's quite possible.
At least for a little bit longer.
But, Omega will, you can say what sort of person you'd like.
Barring bringing Colin Baker back, which is never going to happen, I want the Doctor to be older and kind of be more sensible. Like, I like Matt Smith, don't get me wrong, but he's kind of like a puppy.
The Matt Smith is definitely more of an old school Doctor than David Tennant. On another level, if you look at the two together, they're like two different modes of the same type of Doctor. They're both young. They're both they've got boil in the bag eccentricity, where it's just like, oh, I'm gonna,
Fish fingers on custard.
I'm gonna appear normal, and then I'm just gonna do occasionally something that's a bit weird. Matt Smith does more of that than Tennant, obviously. Honestly, if they're gonna go for eccentric, I would like it to be less scripted eccentricity.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that was noteworthy about Tom Baker, his eccentricity as a Doctor was a lot of it was acted, and the scripts were fairly straight. If you look, just as a fan, I preferred Matt Smith in his first season than his second or third. simply because they started scripting Matt Smith as more self-consciously wacky in season 6 and 7. Season 5 was a little bit more generic, so he was able to put his own stamp on it.
Oh yeah, like the one where he was talking to the baby.
Yeah, so he's a bit more grounded in that. So I wouldn't mind a bit more grounding in the eccentricity, less generic
Wackiness.
Yeah, generic wackiness. If I was going to see any kind of Doctor next, I would like to see a restrained Doctor. I would like to see the sort of one that doesn't talk very much. One of the less eccentric Doctors, more, honestly, I'd like to see a Pertwee.
That would make my mom happy.
Yeah. Simply because, okay, William Hartnell was a bit like Colin Baker.
He was a curmudgeonly old bastard. I like that.
He was a bit like Colin Baker. Patrick Troughton was echoed in Tom Baker, Sylvester McCoy, and Matt Smith. John Pertwee has never been echoed in anyone else. Like, Tom Baker was like other ones. Like Peter Davison was like David Tennant was like Paul McGann. Christopher Eccleston was just too fucking
Last action hero Doctor.
It was just too fucking dull to ever be echoed. But it's been like 40 years. I would like to see a John Pertwee, someone who's not wacky, who's restrained, who does weird shit, but only because he comes from a different culture from the rest of everyone else, and makes no apologies for that. Ideally, I'd like to see Alexander Siddig,
yay,
aka Julian Bashir from Dr. Julian Bashir from Deep Space Nine. Give him some sort of honestly, I'd like to see like an 1860s riverboat gambler type outfit. So
isn't that awfully American though?
Well, it's sort of like I don't really mind if it's American. Maybe give him an upper class riverboat gambler sort of look, so it's almost like it's a semi-southern gentleman.
Okay, I can see that.
Ideally, if I was gonna do some sort of, if you have to make his silhouette distinctive, then clothes-wise he'd be similar to, I suppose, Paul McGann, but
and a cane.
You give him a cane. I'd love to see if the Doctor had, instead of just having the sonic screwdriver and just having it as a magic fucking wand, I'd love to see him all have a bunch of different devices that he can use, like maybe a pair of sunglasses or something.
And they could steampunk it up real good, because that's really in right now.
Yeah, give him like sunglasses which can look through walls or detect things. Give him a cane which the top can come off and you can use it for other things. Cane which could, I don't know, turn into a lightsaber or something. Just give him little devices that can be like a top, a watch, one of the stopwatches.
Pocket watch.
A pocket watch that opens up and you can do other things with it. Just give him a bunch of different devices, different things. One of the clever things about Russell T Davies was he gave him the psychic paper. I'd like to see more things like that. Little devices, things. But yeah, I would also like to see, especially if it was Alexander Siddig, a Doctor with facial hair. Not a beard or a mustache or anything. I would love to see a sort of a Colonel Custer type beard.
Has any of the Doctors ever had facial hair?
Only very briefly. 4 and 11 had facial hair whenever they weren't able to shave for a long time.
Oh.
But I think 8 did in the books. But in one of the Colonel Custer, General Custer ones where you've got a mustache and you get a little bit down the chin.
Yeah.
That would be really quite cool. And give him the sort of the riverboat costume, but then give him maybe change his neckwear every so often. Give him a cravat if he's in the past, or give him no neckwear. Sometimes give him a regular tie. Sometimes mix up a little bit. That's what I'd like to see ideally, but won't happen. What about you?
Well, I want him to be more academic.
Good.
I don't know. I mean, one of the things that I was complaining about this season was that it was getting harder and harder to believe that he has lived through 10 other lifetimes. They have been bringing more and more references in, and that's really cool. But I want to feel the weight of 900 years. And not saying that he should act like an old man, but, I mean, more sedate, I think.
On one level, I can see the logic of why he shouldn't be sedate. I honestly, a personal thing, I'd like him to be restrained and be more like
Well, no, you said that, didn't you say that a lot of times it seems as though each reincarnation is kind of a reaction to the previous?
Yeah, there's definite weight behind that argument. Yeah.
So then, just a reaction to the manicness of Matt Smith and David Tennant, just a little bit more sedate.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. Though I can see one logical reason why that would not happen, because Time Lords can live. It's been suggested for thousands of years, and the Doctor, according to the show, is like 1,200, which is absolute bollocks.
Here we go.
Doctor was 950 something when he regenerated to the Seventh Doctor. The Seventh Doctor lasted a long time. 8 lasted a long time.
He could have got confused in the Time War.
He must have. But I really want someone to just come along and point out that the Doctor is actually about 1,800 years old. But Time Lords, one incarnation, according to can theoretically live for thousands of years. So the Doctor is literally roughly about a 17-year-old in Time Lord terms, which is one of the reasons that irritates people who complains about how old he is. From our point of view, he's very old.
Right.
But from their species' point of view, he's not.
Yeah, but the thing is, his first incarnation, William Hartnell, acted like a crotchety old bastard.
Yeah. He did, because that was, the characterization was invented before they came up with the rest of it. Originally,
Well,
it was
that's a
supposed
good
to be
point.
a future human.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but on the other hand, he's a bit more impulsive than the other Doctors. He's like, he just, they arrive on Skaro and they're like, oh, look at this, there's a crazy city over there. I'm going to totally sabotage the TARDIS just so we have to go and investigate it and possibly get killed.
I liked it. He was like, I totally kind of just fucked this whole thing up.
Yeah, he would do shit like that when he was William Hartnell. So on one level, you can see him being the youngest Doctor.
And every 5 minutes threatened to leave his companions and Seuss in there.
Yeah, this is the sort of shit that he did before he matured. So you can see him as the youngest in some level.
Alright, yeah, I get that.
But the actor-wise, some actors that I'd be okay with. If you're not British, you might want to sort of not stop listening because it's going to be confusing. Although, maybe you can channel your confusion. Richard Coyle.
I'm making the confused Omega is confused look right now.
Richard Coyle was in Coupling, the British show, that was remade for America. Stephen Moffat did. If you look up Coupling and Jeff on YouTube, the guy has an amazing talent for spouting off bullshit in a realistically eccentric way, while doing it very well. He would also make a really good Ford Prefect in a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy thing. He'd make a great Doctor. He did a show called Strange where he was wearing like a blue a polo neck and a blue jacket, and he had like really curly hair and stuff. And he looked like the Doctor, and I've never seen Strange, but I want to. But he looked like the Doctor. Other possible ones, I'd love to see Keith Lee Castle just so I have a goth Doctor, because Keith Lee Castle is fucking brilliant. He's got the vampire and urban gothic. I'd like to see Stephen Mangan, who played Dirk Gently in the Dirk Gently. What?
Nothing.
Was
Dirk Gently.
Dirk.
That's what she said.
Dirk
I know Dirk, but still.
was Dirk Gently was the second character. Douglas Adams he was another series books he wrote.
Oh.
The Holistic Detective. I'd love to see a non-white Doctor. I was one of the ones who was really disappointed when Matt Smith was cast, simply because it looked like Patterson Joseph was going to get the role, and we were finally going to get a non-white Doctor.
Yeah, but won't that piss a lot of people off? I mean, they won't say so outright because the British are too polite.
Honestly, the people who get pissed off at a non-white Doctor, I don't care about pissing them off. They should be pissed off more.
Yeah, but what I mean is the BBC will want to please the most of the people. So, is it possible that they would specifically not do that? Just because they think, oh, well, a few people will get upset, but better than nobody getting upset.
Doubtful.
Oh.
No, the BBC, it'll be up to the showrunner and the producers. They'll do what they want to do regardless. The only possible problem would be casting that actor who's too old because of insurance purposes.
Point.
Because apparently the making New Who is a punishing schedule, which I find really weird because 13 episodes, the actors only actually appear in 12 of them. And why is that a punishing schedule? I've read somewhere that each episode takes 2 weeks to film. Okay, that's 24 weeks, so that's half a year. In Old Who?
Maybe you have to do all your own stunts.
No, you don't.
Oh.
In old Who, William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton era, the show was on like 45 weeks a year. And they would have holidays every so often, but they'd have to sort of go off and film the film parts and locations, and then they'd come in and do like 4 days of rehearsal, and then they'd film it live as a theater thing over like 3 hours.
Oh yeah, right. You told me that like apparently like sometimes there's flubs because they were like, oh, we'll just go with it, just go with it.
Yeah, unless someone actually swore and made it so they literally couldn't put it out, they would just go with whatever happened.
That must have been so fun to be in the audience.
Yeah. But see, back then it was very expensive to do resets. So the thing that I actually would, apart from the second most often done thing, which would make a shot have to be retaken after swearing, was if there was some sort of a technical problem or a special effects problem. They didn't care about it.
Sorry, it's the Dalek exploded. We're gonna have to do this one again.
Yeah, they didn't care about performances.
Right, run it again.
You give a bad performance, but their expensive special effect works, they're going with it. They don't care. So that I do not see. And William Hartnell was 55 when he started. Patrick Troughton was, I think, in his 40s. Patrick Troughton was a very, very heavy smoker.
Oh.
So honestly, I do not see how New Who can be more punishing on the actors than old Who.
Well, maybe because the standards have changed.
Maybe, but it's just baffling to me.
Do you know what else is baffling to you? The English language. Because guess what time it is?
What is it?
Yeah, we're coming up on it now.
We'll list a couple other actors you can accept.
Ready, go.
Okay. Go. Now my mind's gone completely blank.
I
I tweeted about this too. There's a bunch of actors who are accessible. As long as they're not too young. I want to see an old doctor. I want to see a doctor.
Yeah, I don't want to see another like 12-year-old doctor.
I do not want to get down. I want to do not the age to go down and down and down until he's Dr. Fetus.
That would be amazing.
A little parody of that.
His adventures in the womb.
He's going to take on evil pro-choicers.
Well, why would they be evil?
Because they want to do an abortion on him to kill him.
Oh, okay. I thought
Because
they were.
he's a fetus.
That would be a very Christian show then.
Well, yeah, but I'm just trying to think of what sort of dangers could a fetus really, face.
Lack of folic acid.
That's one. Miscarriage man.
That's horrible. We're gonna stop while we're still ahead. I know you guys are already opened up your email clients for the horrible offended. Well, probably not knowing your fans, no one's offended, but still. Anyway, where's the dictionary?
The dictionary is somewhere. Well, yeah. Also, I wouldn't mind seeing a female doctor, but I don't trust Stephen Moffat to do it anything resembling competently. What's your number?
231.
I don't like that number. Let's go to 228.
You can't do that. That's cheating. I get to pick.
1 or 2?
2.
16.
12.
Fairground. A site for fairs, horse races, etc. A bit like a theme park.
Well, I know we'll have a lot to talk about that.
And we'll see. And bear in mind that whenever the new Doctor is announced, we will be here to bitch about him because he's sure to be young and another sort of cookie cutter. They're going to have a similar mode as 10 and 11, I'm fairly sure. It's not going to be anything as massively changing as such as like Pertwee or Tom Baker and Peter Davison. It's not going to be anything like that, which is a big shame.
But how do you really feel?
I still feel that New Who is inferior to Old Who in every way that counts.
Alright.
Which is imagination, scripting, and acting.
So on that lovely note, we'll see you guys next week.